Recording has started. So yesterday we talked about the need for Redux, the reason for Redux. Redux is a state management library. It helps us to manage our states. And we said Redux is going to create something we call store. Then any component can go to the store and pick my items in the store. Then if you need to change the value in the store, if you need to edit what is inside the store, it needs to go to what we call reducer. So to start with, you first install npm install redux, and you also run npm install react redux. After installing these two packages, the next is you bring in create store from redux. This create store is a function. When you call on this function, it will automatically create a store for you. So then this redux is the state management, like is this it's good. This redux will be the one.
I'm trying to join with my laptop. Please, can you please accept me?
Okay. Done.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go back to what I was explaining. So this redux is the state management library, or is the state management library. Why this React Redux will help us to be able to use Redux in our React app. So to create a store, you bring in create store from Redux. But I said, as you can see that this is underlined, it means it has been duplicated. Then we need to work on the new version. Now let's move on. When you bring in Redux, you trigger it like this, a function. But this Redux expects what we call reducer. The reducer is like the gatekeeper of the store. It's the one that can store items in the store. It's the one that can change the items in the store. Now, whenever you call on create store, you need to pass something we call reducer. This reducer is just a function. But it is that function, it is that reducer that can change the content of our store. So you trigger it and you pass the reducer, then whatever it returns, it is stored as variable my store. So when you call on create store and you pass reducer like this, whatever it returns is stored as variable store. You can call this variable any name. Now remember I said React Redux allows you to be able to use Redux in your React app. So you are importing what we call provider from React Redux. This provider will provide the content of the store to your React application. So what we are doing here is that we are wrapping our whole application with provider. So that it can provide the content of the store to our application. This provider expects a prop called store, and the value will be whatever variable this is. Do we understand it to that point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it's going to be whatever this is. So now I can make use of the store anywhere within my application. Next is this. We want to store some things in our store. We want to put some things in the store. So to do that, let's go to the reducer. The reducer is the one responsible for that. So here is the reducer. The reducer is just a function. This is the function reducer. Let me. Is that?
Your screen, sir.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So to quickly explain, I will comment out all of these things, leaving these return states. So whatever the reducer returns at any point in time becomes the value of our store, becomes the content of our store. So in this case, this reducer is returning states. And you know that state here is an object. State equals to my state. This is variable my state. My state is an object. So we are saying state equals to my state. You know this is default parameter. Abi now. Hello?
Yes, sir. Too, sir.
Okay, this is default parameter. So you are now returning that state, meaning you are returning this object. So that means what we have in our store now is an object. So next is, what if we now want to make use of the content of our store inside our application. So that's the next thing we want to do. We've seen how to set items in the store. Next is to make use of it in our application. So let's go to a component. Now, in any component of your choice, you bring, whenever you want to use the items in the store, whenever you want to display the item or any item in the store, in other component, you bring in this hook called use selector. This is a React hook. You bring in use selector. This use selector allows you to be able to select item inside the store. It's like a window into the store in order to see the items in the store. So you call on use selector and you pass a function inside it. This function is expected to be a parameterized function, just as we have it here, and it is expected to return a value. So what we are doing here is this. We are passing a parameterized function and we are returning. You know, when you use so what we are doing here is we are passing a parameterized function, and this function is returning a value. Now, whatever parameter you put here represents the whole item of your store. This state represents everything in the store. So you are now returning state.name.
I said that state, sorry, sir.
Is that?
That state is this state that
Yes.
name, right?
Yes, it represents everything in the store. It represents the whole content of the store. Do you understand? Hello, sir.
Yeah, I'm with you. You can go ahead, sir.
Okay. So this state represents the whole item in the store. It's not a must to call it state. You can call it anything. Now,
Yeah, that's what I.
okay. So here we are now pulling out the name property out of the state. You know, the state is this object now. It represents this object. So we are pulling out the name property out of it. So we are assigning whatever this returns, we are assigning to variable name. Any questions so far? Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Do you have any question?
I'm with you, sir.
Okay. So here we are pulling out age out of the store and saving it as variable age. Here we are pulling out num out of the store and saving that variable num. We could have done something like this. We could have done store content. We could have done something like this. Store content. Use selector. State. We can do something like this. What we are doing here is we are getting everything in the state and we are saving it as variable store content. So whenever we now want to use the name, we can now say store content.name. But instead of doing that, we are doing it this way. And the reason I actually use this is to show us that.
Can you hear me, please, sir?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, nice one.
Okay. So we are just doing a recap of yesterday's class.
Your screen is not showing. Okay, nice, it's showing.
Okay. So we are doing a recap of yesterday's class.
Okay.
Now, the reason we are using this approach is to show that you may not necessarily need all the contents in the store. You may only need maybe one or two things there. And you can easily pull out whatever you need inside the store. So now I can now display it on this page. The next is this. We want to change the item in the store. Maybe I want a situation whereby when I click on a button, I want to change the name property to something else. And remember, the owner of the state must be the one to change the value of that state. So that means the store must also be the one responsible for changing the content of this name or of this age or of this num. It must not be done inside this component. So how then do we go about it? To do that, you bring in something we call use dispatch. from React Redux. So you can now attach an event to this use dispatch. Let's say how to go about it. After beginning use dispatch, you create a variable. We usually call it variable dispatch. Yes?
The screen froze.
Okay. We usually call it variable dispatch. Variable dispatch equals to this use dispatch, then you trigger it. So whenever we want to change anything in the store, we now dispatch it. We are going to now use this variable. Any question to that point? Hello, sorry.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Give me a second. Let me divert our class. Okay. Can we proceed now? Shall I work with me?
Yes.
Okay. So we have this let dispatch equals to use dispatch. Whenever you want to change anything inside the store, you dispatch it. You call on this variable. And to do that, you just say
That's
dispatch.
yes.
Okay. So whenever you want to, can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But it's frozen.
It's frozen. I'm not typing anything yet.
Okay.
So whenever you want to dispatch anything, you use this variable dispatch. When you dispatch it, it goes to the store and try to change something there. So let's test something. Let me just use dispatch inside this place. Dispatch. I'll just say dispatch testing. Oh, sorry. You dispatch an object. Whenever you want to dispatch, you dispatch an object. So this object is expecting a property called type, and we are saying let this be testing. For the sake of convention, we are using camel uppercase to follow convention. You said?
Uppercase throughout, sir.
Yes. Whenever you are dispatching things, if you use lowercase, it will still work, but just to follow convention, you use uppercase. So you dispatch an object. Now, when I click on this increase age, it will dispatch this object to the reducer. Do you understand?
Yes.
So how do we then handle this in the reducer? What we are saying is this: whenever you call on this increase age, it will dispatch this to the reducer. So it goes to the reducer and tries to do something. It looks for this testing. Let's see how the reducer handles it. Within this reducer,
Your screen, sir. Your screen, sir.
can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in this reducer, you say, we've used state, but we're yet to use this action, Abby.
Yes, sir.
So you can now make use of the action by saying, whatever you dispatch, look at it this way. So see this way that it becomes the value of action. Whatever you dispatch becomes the value of action. So in this case, we are dispatching this object, Abby.
Yes.
So this object automatically becomes the value of action. Show to you.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we are now saying if action
is a function.
no, action is an object. Whatever you dispatch becomes the value of action. So in this case, we are dispatching an object, right?
Yeah.
So meaning this action is actually an object. We are now saying if action.type equals to testing,
Okay.
then do something here. Now whatever you return becomes the new value of your states. Whatever you return. So if I say, let me create a new property here called test. My test. Let's say initially my test is welcome. Initially, my test is welcome. So now whatever you return becomes the new value of state. So I want to change this welcome to hello. Now you might mistakenly do something like this. Hello. One thing I want you to know that after you call on, let's say, after you click on this increase age and you dispatch these objects, you know you are dispatching this object type testing, Abi.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So it comes to this place and run this code. Now you ask it to return hello. This hello now becomes the new value of your state.
Sir, your screen, sir.
This hello becomes the new value of your state. Do you understand it?
Yes, sir.
So your
All
state
states.
will no longer be an object. Your state will now be a string, which is not what we want. We want to change this my test to hello, not for us to change the old state to hello. Shall you hear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Cousin.
I'm with you, sir.
Okay. So let's now solve that. We can now say dot 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 state, that is help us to return everything inside the state back, like we are spreading the state. We can now say my test, change it to, or override that to hello. Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you return it like this, the new value of your state now will now be this. So that's one way. So we now want to use something we call payload. We want to bring in something we call payload. Payload. Now, payload is like you are sending a value to the reducer. Payload is a way of sending a value to the reducer. So, you know, when you call on this increase age 10 times, the value of my test will change to hello 10 times, Abi.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So maybe we now want to make it dynamic instead of making it static, because at the moment this hello is static, it's not dynamic. It will always be hello. So we want it to be static instead. So what we can do is this: we can bring in something we call payload, and let this be. I will create a local variable inside this place. I will call it variable val. I will say, let's say taye. So I can now say payload is val. You know, that's like saying payload is taye abina.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Cousin,
I'm with you, sir. I'm with you,
I
sir.
want to be sure. You know, we are actually taking this cap because of you.
Exactly, sir.
So I want to be sure that you are with us. Okay, let's move on. So when we dispatch this object, it goes straight to this place. Now, what we want to do, instead of now saying this my test should be hello, we will now say let it be equal to this variable payload, to this property payload. So we now say my test will now be equals to action dot payload. Remember, whatever you dispatch becomes the value of action.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
So this val can now be, it can be dynamic, like you can change the value of val inside this component or whatever. But whatever the value of val is, you are sending it as the value of payload. And whatever you dispatch automatically becomes the value of action. Then you can now say action dot payload. Any question? Let's move on. Next is, we also talked about something we call action creators. Action creators. With action creators, we want, in fact, one of those things we are going to do tonight is using asynchronous function. So action creators makes it very easy for us to use asynchronous functions. And also, it also makes it for us to reuse the same action, over and over again. What does that mean? You know, this is your action, this objects, this action here. What am I saying? This is your action, right?
Yes, sir.
Can we see my screen now?
Yes.
So you know this object is actually my action. So what we want to do is, instead
Yes.
of sending it manually, we will create a function. Then the function will now return this object. The function will return this object. So let's create one here. I think we created a file yesterday. So let's create a new action. Export any one action creator. We can say my test or my testing, anyone. My testing. Let me use camel casing. My testing equals to this. So we want to return this. Let me just copy this out of this place. I'll cut it out. Bring it in. Shall I disclaim it?
Yes.
Okay. For now, I will first remove this payload for now, and let's first deal with this alone. So whenever we call on my testing, this is a function. Whenever we call on my testing function, it will return this object there. So let's bring it in here. I will import it here, my testing. So we are bringing this my testing into this component. So we can now say dispatch my testing, then trigger it. So when you trigger it like this, it will return this object. This is, just look at it this way. This is the same as copying this code, this object, and bringing it here.
Your screen.
Your screen, sir. Your screen.
Okay, this is the same as copying these objects. This objects type. Can we say this type testing? Shall we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's the same as copying it and pasting it. Yeah, it's still the same thing. But we are just doing it in another way. When you trigger testing, you know my testing is actually a function. So when you trigger the function,
Yes.
it will return. It will
Follow the
return.
object.
It will call how good. It will return this object back to that same location. Mr. Kozim, show you.
Ben, sir.
Okay.
Ben, sir.
Now, but then we are currently facing a problem. The problem is that, what if I want to also send this var? Because remember, we had payload here. There was payload inside the subject before, but at Yoku, at least for now,
Your screen.
there was
Your screen.
wow, there was payload here. I've been now payload one been
Yes.
telling, but we
Yeah.
removed it so as to easily explain how this works. Now, once we bring it back, let's bring in our payload. So we want to say, let's payload. We want to find a way of sending this val to that payload, right?
Yes.
So we can now send it as a parameter. Shall I get there?
Yes.
Good. We can send it as a parameter to that function. Then this function can now receive it as maybe my value. Then you now say, this is my value. Oh. It's still the same thing. So this will now return this. Any question?
No question.
So that will be
It's
Tadela.
clear, sir. No question.
Okay. Oh, that will be Tadela no Niabi.
Yes.
Okay, so let me remove all of those codes that we just added today so that we can use the exact thing we used yesterday. Okay, so this is where we start yesterday. So I told us yesterday that today we are going to split this into different files. One, two, we are going to use multiple reducers. Two, then so that we are going to use something. We are going to run asynchronous functions. Note, you can't run asynchronous functions inside this reducer. Everything here must be synchronous. You can't make API calls, you can't make requests to the server inside this place. You can't call set timeout or set interval.
Your screen. Your screen.
Sir, please, can you give a brief meaning of asynchronous and synchronous function, please?
Okay, I think I want to explain it to us. I said synchronous functions or synchronous codes. They are codes that happen immediately. But asynchronous. Is that?
Synchronous happens immediately.
Yes, they happen sequentially. Line 1, after line 1 the code goes to line 2. For instance, after this the code comes here. After this the code runs this place. Like it runs according to how it's written. But asynchronous, whatever you're running asynchronous code, is like there are things that don't happen immediately. For instance, when you make a request to the server, the response does not come back immediately. There's usually some delay. That's asynchronous. When you run something like set interval or set timeout, is asynchronous. It doesn't happen. It delays the code for a while, so that JavaScript goes to the code beneath it. I've been now.
Yes.
Yes.
So when you can't make asynchronous calls inside this reducer. The reducer is just for synchronous calls. So what if, let's say this name, instead of I want to get this name from the server, how do we go about it? Since I can't do it here, then how do we go about? That's one of those things we are going to do tonight. Show you why.
Your screen. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So to start with, let's pick these things one after the other. We first separate all of these things into different files. That's the first thing. So our reducer, we take it out of this place. Then we create a file called reducer. We can call it reducer. Reducers.js. So inside this place, we just cut this reducer, cut it out, and bring it to the reducers.js. Share and get and this criminal. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I can't see your screen.
Okay. What about now? Can you see it now?
I can see it, but I don't know if it's moving or not.
You don't know?
The screen is not moving.
Yes. Motion moving on. So I will cut everything and place inside this file called reducer. We created a new file called reducers. Reducer.js. Shall we reducer.js?
Yes.
We created a file called reducer.js inside this my Redux folder. Then we pasted everything about the reducer there. Now let's export this function so that we can import it in our index.js. So let's say export default reducers. Oops. Reducers. Oh, reducer. Reducer. So let's come to the
Your screen.
export default reducer. So next is let's go to the index.js and import this reducer. So we come here and say import reducer. Okay, let's go Wale. So then you can now make use of the reducer here. Any question?
No.
Okay, but we are not yet done. We are still splitting up things. Instead of running this here, we are going to bring it to this my index.js and create a new file. The reason we are splitting all of this is because later our application will get so big, and if you are not careful, your files will be rough, like everything will be rough. So that's why we are splitting up things. As time goes on, like I said, we are going to make use of multiple reducers in this same class, and you will now see more sense why we are splitting things up. We create a new file here called index.js. This index.js is inside this my redux folder. So what we want to do inside this file is that this line.
Hello, sir. Hope it won't compete with the normal index.js we have, sir.
No,
I think
no.
we used to have one index.js.
It won't compete with it because it's inside another folder. Like it's directly inside this folder. Do you understand? It's inside this my redux folder. So we got a file called index.js. So this line, we take it out of this place, and we take it to the index.
Your screen, no.
Yes, sir. What about now?
Yes, it's black.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we will take this line out of that place and we'll bring it to this index.js. Let's say
It's not going to be better.
is that
It's better now.
okay? So we are bringing it in here. We are bringing in the reducer from this reducer. You know the reason why you have this because they are inside the same folder, all directly. Do we understand?
Yes.
So it's bringing in. We are bringing in this reducer, and we are bringing it using it inside this create store. We can now export it. Export default my store. So we are exporting it here. Then import it in your roots application. You can say import store.
Your screen.
From my redux. Now, let me first do this so that you understand what you want to do. Shelly, you are.
Yes.
And you know the reason I can
Yes.
use store here is because it is the default there. Have you now?
Yes.
So I can now say this is store. Any question?
Let's come again.
The reason we are importing store, this is where we created the store. This is the store. We are exporting is export default my store. Have you now?
Yes.
So we want to make use of it here. I need the MB. So I can say import.
Yes, okay.
I can say import my store and say this is my store. Shele Yewa.
Yes.
But instead of saying my store, I can also choose to call it store since it is the default. Remember, if it's the default, you can give it any name.
Okay. Okay.
It's fine like this.
But why is it importing from redux/index? Why is it index?
We are importing it from this index.js now.
Okay.
Got time.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now next is this. Note, I can choose to omit this /index and just say import store from my redux, and that's what we are going to do. The reason is this: when you get to my redux, if you don't put any file name, if you don't put anything, it automatically goes to the index.js present there. Do you understand?
If you
Yeah.
don't do any file,
Show you what I got.
I get.
If it was to be another file, to buy my actions, like first I must open my actions. You need to write it. But if it is the indexed file, you don't need to put index. It's optional. You can remove it. So it automatically goes to the index.js present inside this folder.
Okay.
So now we've split things up into different files. Next, we want to use multiple. Our application will still work the same way. Let's go and run it on the browser so that you see the same way. Play Store is not defined. Oh, let's come here and bring in Play Store from Redux. Import. Create Store from Redux. So this is fine now. The application will still work the same way. Let's say this is let's say Shade, and click on this function, change name. The name has changed to Shade. This one, let's say I want to increase it by 4. Oh, concatenating, yes. Look, I have numbers learning. Oh, did we remove it? Okay. Dispatch. Oh, when we let's go to our actions. Or better still, okay. Then reduce, decrease age. Okay. So this is fine now. This should work fine now. Okay, good. Let me refresh. Let's say 3 and go order. Good, it's fine now. So our application is working very well. It's working well. Next is we want to bring in multiple reducers. We want to use multiple reducers. So why do we need multiple reducers? That's the first thing we need to learn. Why do we need multiple reducers? Now, when your application gets so big, you can have many values in the store. And as time goes on, this reducer.js will be too complex. Imagine in my store, I have this. I also have an array of objects. Maybe imagine I'm building a school app. So I will have inside this object, I will have a property, let's say to store students. Imagine application looks like this. Let's say I will comment out this line. Let's say my state looks like this. Let's my state. Imagine it looks like this. It's an object. I'm building a school app. One is property students.
Your screen, though. Your screen.
Okay. Okay, can you see my screen now, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So imagine I'm building a school application, and in that school app, we have students, we have teachers, we have courses, we have. Let's even stop at those 3. So these students will be an array of objects. Of course, it's going to start as an empty array. I've been now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next is we have another one for teachers. This will also be an array of objects. Then we can have another one for courses. This can also be an array of objects. Now, imagine we now, after adding students, we want to delete a student or want to remove a student. It's going to happen inside this reducer, right?
Yes.
If you want to edit a student, it will happen inside this reducer too.
Yes.
If you want to add a new course, it will happen inside this reducer too.
Yes.
If you want to sack a teacher, it will also happen inside this reducer.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, this reducer will get so cumbersome because everything about the students will be there, everything about the teachers will be there, everything about these courses will be there, and you may still have many other things. So we now have a lot of if that will go endlessly. So it will get so big that you may not be like this file will now look very, very rough. Do we understand?
Yes.
So for that reason, you may have to split your reducers. Like you're going to create many reducers, and that's what we want to do now. So let's go back to these are our own states. So let's go back to these same states. Now we want to create a reducer for this name to manage name alone. Everything about name will be there. We get another reducer to manage age. Then we get another reducer to manage num. Shall I understand the collaboration?
Let's come again, sir.
Okay. We want to create a reducer to manage name.
Yes, sir.
Everything about name will be there. We create another reducer to manage age. Then we get another reducer to manage num. So that not all of them, like not presently, if you want to change this name, it will happen inside this reducer. If you want to change this age,
Yes.
it will happen inside this reducer.
Yes.
If you want to change this num, it will also happen inside this reducer.
Yes.
For this task, this is not necessary. It's not necessary that you split it. But I'm just saying that when we are building big application, it's usually necessary that you split your reducers. So that it's not going to get so cumbersome. And that's why I use the example of school application, where in your reducer you have states, you have teachers, you have students, you have courses, and everything about them will be inside that same reducer. Like you'll be running too many codes inside the reducer. Do you understand?
Yes.
But for the sake of what we are doing, like in this particular project, it's not necessary that we split it. The codes here, they are still okay. They aren't too much. But in real life projects, you will get things that, like, at the end of the day, this may get too much. So I want to teach us how to combine reducers, how to use multiple reducers in case you are dealing with a big application and you need to split the reducers. Show you what I'm.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Cousin, are you still with us, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to create, instead of these reducers being a file, instead it's going to be a folder. I come again. Instead of these reducers being a file, now it will be a folder. Let's get a folder. Inside this my redux, we'll get a new folder and we call it reducers. So inside this we will now create 3 files, one for name, one for age, and one for num. So let's say name.js. This reducer will manage the name. Let's get another one to manage age.js. This reducer will manage the age. Let's get another one, num.js. This reducer will manage the num. So we have these 3 files inside the reducers. So let's migrate them one after the other. Let's first pick this age and first bring it here. So we are going to lift it from this reducers.js. Of course, we are going to remove this reducer.js now. So I'm going to say, const num equals to, this will now be a reducer on its own, and being a reducer on its own, it means it will have states and it will have action. Now.
Yes.
Okay. So let me cut everything about num edit everything about num to 1D. Let's bring it there. Increase num. Let's cut this one out of this place and take it there. Cut this one out and we bring it here. You know your state should have initial value, right? Now.
Yes.
So let's say my state let my state equals to, let's say the initial value is 2. You now say equals to my state. So this is for this one. I can now export it as the default. Export default my num. Sorry, export default num.
Just if the number is, you know, like from the onset, like it's going to be empty, doesn't mean we can leave it as an empty string.
Oh, good. Please, as much as possible, don't let your state to be undefined. It needs to have an initial value. Do you understand?
So it can't be empty.
It can be empty string, but don't make it to be undefined.
Okay.
Don't do something like this. It's a bad practice. Like, don't do. You know, if you don't put anything, it's actually undefined. I've been now.
Yes.
Don't do something like this. Always put an initial value, a starting point, and of course, you need to first return state, because before this increased num is called, Osha Nikokotomalu as the value of state. Something must be the initial value of state before people call on this one. I've been now.
Yes.
So then don't return this now, because our state is now a number. It's no longer an object. It's no longer an object. Just say return state plus 1. Are we still following?
Yes.
So you say return state plus 1. What else do we need to change? Okay, I think this is fine now. This is fine. Let's go to the age and do the same thing there. Const age equals to states actions oops. Then let's cut everything about, okay, let's first return state. So everything about age will now be brought here. Let's go back to this place and bring everything about age. This cut them out and bring it to this place. Then export default age. Then give it, instead of saying, I'll give it an initial value. Age, let's age. Let's
Should be action, Abby.
Is that?
No actions. I said state and action. Actions.
Okay. Thank you, brother. Now, let's say the initial age is 0. So instead of saying state dot
Your
age.
screen.
Your
Your screen.
Yes, sir.
screen.
What's it, bless you, brother? Can we see it? Okay.
It's not moving on. It's not back.
Shut him, move. Hello?
Off you are, no movement.
Can you see my screen?
Are you sure move not Gola?
No movement.
You can still see my screen.
You can see now.
Oh, that go slowly later and tell you hold up, Lele. Continue move now.
What's better than?
Okay. So we are going to now change this and say, instead of this, we say return new age. Sorry, states plus this. Then okay, we can even just say return this and remove this totally. Then okay, copy, paste, then change this to minus, remove this. Okay, Shaban, get there.
Yes.
Okay, this is my
Button immediate is the day.
yes, TT increase age and reduce age. So the increase age will return states, which is 0, plus action.payload, that is whatever value about is sent. And that of reduce age will remove it. Of course, you first return the states so that it will have a default value right from time. So this is for the age. Let's now go to the last one, which is for the name. Then we'll come here again and copy, I'll cut this one out of this place. Then let's get a function const name equals to, then bring in your state, bring in your action, return state, press this. So if it's this, you now say return action dots payload. So the name, value of name will change to whatever the user types. Let's say the initial value of our name. Let's say my name. It can start as an empty string. So return this. Export default. Name. Did you export anything out of age? Yes, we exported it. Any question to this point?
Sir, no, but me I want to ask that if we are dealing with index, where would we put the index? And if we are dealing with array, how would okay, if we have an array inside our object, since our state is always going to be an object, how do we access it?
You see the same thing. Let's say
Using the light of
you see the same thing. Let's say this is an object. This is an array now. Let's call this users. Then this will now be users. Just like before, the might look to you can run if action dot kinikon. You do whatever you want to do. Do you get it?
yeah.
It's still the same thing, just like before. Okay.
I think I understand that. So meaning is an object doesn't mean that we can't use a variable to set it as an array.
Yes, you can. So and if you want to use the initial one, it can be like this. It can be users like this. If you want to put everything together, initially we are trying to split up everything. I've been now.
Yes.
So you can use this if you want to. Now we've moved everything inside this reducers.js. So we now have 3 separate reducers instead of 1. Now this is now something very interesting. You see this place. Where is our what is it called? Let's go to index.js of our app, of the root file of our application. If it articulate is done, coming. Where did we call on? Okay, inside this place. This expects 1 reducer. In fact, you can't put the 3 reducers here. This expects just 1 reducer. Now we have. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. This cluster, it expects just 1 reducer, not 3, not 2, not 1.5. It expects 1. But now we have 3 reducers, right?
Yes.
How then do we put the 3 reducers inside this place if this expects only 1 reducer? Let's now solve that problem. Let's go back to our reducers, and we have this, the first one, this is the second one, this is the third one. Then inside these reducers, we create a new file inside the reducers, and I will call it index.js. This is the index.js of the reducers. Sure, you understand? It's like the root. Just
Yes.
see index.js as the root file of a particular folder. So I'll bring in the three reducers inside this place. Number one, I will bring in name. Number two, I will bring in age. We are bringing in name. This is name. Number two, we are bringing in age. Number three, we are bringing in num. So at comment at our label, these are the three things that need in B. The three reducers are now available here. So we are going to bring in something we call combine reducers. Is inside Redux. Combine reducers. Imports. Combine reducers. These combine reducers makes it possible for you to combine many reducers together. So you can now say, let my reducers, or we usually call this root reducer, but it's not a must. You can call it any variable. You now call on these combine reducers that you just imported. You trigger it. You place all the reducers inside this combine reducer. So I can place name, I can place age, and I can place num. That's all. Show you what attention.
Yes.
So these combine reducers will help us to combine all our reducers together. Then we can now export this root reducer. Export default root reducer. So root reducer, we are going to make use of this inside this place. Where is it? Inside this place. Instead of making use of reducer here, you now call on the root reducer. So we are bringing in the root reducer from this folder inside the reducers. You know, by saying reducers, it's like saying it's the same as saying reducer slash index.js. Have you now?
Yes.
So you now use your root reducer. Then I can delete this now. So you make use of the root reducer, and your application will still work exactly like before. So let's go and test it and see if everything is working fine. So my name is, oh, there is something. Let's come here. When setting items inside these root reducers, inside these combined reducers, it's expecting an object. Yes, it's expecting an object, a key value pair. It's expecting an object. You can now say let name be name. So you know in ES6 you can easily write it like this. Have been now.
Yes.
Let age be age and let num be num. This combined reducers is expecting an object. Sorry. So we can just stop. What am I doing? So we have this combined reducers expect an object, a key value here. I will tell us the significance of this object as we move on. So our application should go back now. The slice reducer for key name returned undefined. Oh, we didn't set anything for name. Is that so? Oh, equals to. Aha. Can you see that it's throwing back an error because this state is starting as undefined? Shall we put well or jade?
Yes.
Please, you must always set an initial value for your state. So that should be fine now. Okay, good. Application is now fine. I can say Tolu, change name. So name will change to Tolu. The age, add 4 to the age. Good, it's working fine. Then remove 2 from the age. Oh, we have a little problem with this age. Initially, when we say go, okay, let me refresh. Age is starting at 0. Okay, yes, it's working fine. I thought it's starting as 10. It's starting at 0. So we can add 3 to it. We can add 5 to that 3, making 8. Show you what bita shade.
Yes.
Okay. Next is we want to talk about this. Why this key value pair? You see, I can change this name. Although this is name, I can change the property to something else. What do I mean? I can say let my name be name. So inside our component, whenever we want to call on this reducer, my name la mama lo nilo name mo. Do you get it? You are not going to make use of name. You are going to make use of whatever key you put here. If I go to the browser now, I can you rename fetch? Can you fetch? If I try to change name to Ajayi, I will go update the screen. It's not updating the screen.
Yes.
That's because to use this, you need to make use of my name. Let's go to our app.js and use my name instead. My name. So this solves the problem now, and we are good to go. My name is Ajayi. Any question?
Order. Not at the moment.
Okay. So I'll change it back to name. I just use that to explain what that does. So we've seen combined reducers. I think the last thing we want to do today is to call on asynchronous functions. Async functions. So what we want to do now is this. We want to fetch name from JSON placeholder. We want to fetch name from this site. Let's fetch that of the name. Users, yes. So we want to fetch name from this place. You know this is an asynchronous call, right?
Yes.
So first is let's install Axios. Import Axios. npm install Axios. That's the first thing. We want to make use of Axios. Oh, I need to terminate my app. Okay, I don't want to terminate my React app. I can do that inside my terminal here. npm, let me make it big. npm install Axios. Okay, good. So we successfully installed Axios. Let's make use of the Axios to make our asynchronous call. Now remember I said you can't do asynchronous call in the reducer. You can't.
Yes.
There are ways you can go around it. Let's look at one solution before we find another solution. One solution is this. We'll go to this app.js. If it doesn't change name, okay. When you click on this, it's going to call on. Can you see my codes now?
Yes.
Okay. So when you click on this button, change name, you want to make a request to this JSON placeholder website and fetch name from that website. So on click, make a request, bring in Axios. So this will auto import Axios. It has been imported. Axios is here already. Now say Axios dot get information from https slash just let me just copy it from the website slash users. So I can now say slash. If I want to fetch the first user, I will say /1 Abina.
Yes.
So this will fetch the first user. But I don't want to fetch the first user per se. I want it to be dynamic. So if I want to fetch the first user, the user will type 1 inside this input of inside this name input. So if the user types 1 inside the name input, then it will fetch the first user. If the user types 2 here, it will fetch the second user. On and on like that. That's what we want to do. So instead of saying /1 now, it's going to be /new name. Concatenate, to make it easy, just make use of your ternary operator. So you can say new name. New name, the user will type the number here.
Yes.
Then whatever it is, good. So let's username equals to this. I want us to first say something so that we get what we want to do. I will come here and say /1. This is going to return an object, but we are not interested in the object. We are only interested in this name. Name will need. Can you shape object? We are not interested in the whole object. We just want to extract this name out of it. So, of course, since it's an asynchronous call, you await. Put your async here. You can't run await inside a function that is not async. So this will fetch. Well, I'm not so comfortable by using new name here. I'm not so comfortable. Reason being that this is not actually a name again. It's now a number.
Number, yes.
So I'm not feeling too comfortable with that. So I'll just call it maybe ID. Let's just call it ID. So let's say initially ID is 1. So when the user now set it, let's call it okay. I'm coming set ID. So we now say ID equals to this. I think this is fine now. So this will return an object. So, instead of okay. What about now?
Yes, fair.
Okay. So we have this await. We are saying this await shows it is not something that will happen immediately. And we know that this username will return an object. So this user will not actually be a username. Let's say user, because it's going to be an object. It's going to be this object like this. Let's say if it is 1, it will return this old object. We can now extract name out of it. We can now say user dot name. So we are passing the user dot name as we are passing it to this the name. Do you understand?
No. Okay, yes.
Then a better way to do that is to even destructure the name out of it from this place and just pass name here.
Directly.
Yes. So whatever this returns, you are passing it here. Of course, you can run your try and catch in case there is error. You can be able to handle the error. You can place all of this inside. You said?
Sorry for bringing you back.
Okay.
That Axios. I've been waiting for the meaning.
Axios is a library that is used to make requests. We did it at the beginning of this stage.
Yeah, we did it, but because we've not used it again, that's why I lost.
Axios is used to make API calls. Maybe we want to make a request to the server and all of that. In our assignment, the assignment have been given us, I said we should use set timeouts to delay something, just to mimic Axios. I used to say it, that you should use set timeouts to delay whenever you are making a request to your local storage. Set timeout so that to delay the results, because In real life situation also, your information will not come to you immediately. It takes time. That's why we are even awaiting it here, so that we ensure that whatever happens after this, wait for this line to complete. If you don't await it, it just takes time. JavaScript will jump to line 19 even though it's yet to complete line 18. Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
So we are waiting it so that anything after this line, we wait for this line 18 to get completed before moving to line 19. Any question?
Yes.
Okay.
No, sir.
So this is one way to go about it. Let's go to the browser and see if it's working fine now. So I can come here and type ID 3 and I can say change name. You can see it's taking time. What's going on? It's not setting it. Let's see why it's not setting it. Let's see that. So we're going to say console log name. So that we see what's going on there. When called with an action of change, the slice is reserved for key name return undefined. Okay, let's go to the name. Let's go to the name. I'm coming. Reducer. Let's go back to our app.js. I'm coming. For now, I will comment out this. I'll put the two here. I'll save it. I will put this. Okay, this is working fine. Okay. So what's going on with our solution? So we have an error. Let's see again. We have console log name. It's not console log undefined. Okay. I think something is wrong here. Something is wrong here. I'll do something. I'll say user. Oh. To debug it easily. Coming. Console log ID. Let's see if we console log the ID. One, okay. Then are we still together?
Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to debug this. I say console log user. Oh, dot data. Good. Oh, you copy dot data. So. We don't like, we actually need user dot data. It should be user dot data dot ID. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. So with the structured data out of it, out of this object, don't return it with the structured data out of it. Then from that data, we can now destructure ID out of it also. There are two things we can say. Coming. Can now say data dot name. Do you get it?
Yes.
We are destructuring data from this. You know, data in the and why no lower. So I think this should work fine. So okay, can you see this browser?
Yes.
Okay, so we can now change the name now. Good, it's fine. it's fine. So let's make this maybe a bit cool. We can also say out of this, help us with the structure name out of it, so that we can now make use of name directly. Yeah, we should still have the same result now. So far, good. So this is one way to go about it on Okoni. But the issue with this approach is that if you are making use of this same action, where is it? This dispatch. You know when you dispatch, it goes to your action creator, Abina. This is our
Yes.
action creator. Let's go to our action creators. So it comes here. If you are now making use of this change name, this rename, inside another component, and you are doing the same thing, then it means you will have to write that same code there. Go code takombi, where we try to change name.
Yes.
You need to rewrite it again inside another component, even though you want to do the same thing, even though you want to make the same API call. Do you get it?
Yes.
It means you have to write it. So you want to you can make that request inside this action creator instead of making it inside the component. If we do it here, it makes it reusable. If you want to do the same thing elsewhere, it makes it reusable. And in fact, for a lot of reasons, you will even have, for a lot of reasons, as time goes on, you may want to make the request inside this place. So let's do that. Instead of doing it here like this looks straightforward anyway. The one we just did, it looks straightforward. But it's good if you look at a better way to do it, to do the same thing. So let's look at the so-called better way. Are we together? Can we go on?
Yes.
Okay, we are going to bring in a library called, let me open terminal, redux-thunk. So npm install redux-thunk. We are installing a library called redux-thunk.
Yes. Okay.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So we are installing a library called redux-thunk. npm install redux-thunk. So this library, what it happens is, okay, we're going to go, when we get there, you see what it provides, what it does for us. After installing redux-thunk, all of these things that should be this API call, we can now do it inside the action creator. We can now do it there. Now, let me explain something we call middleware. You need to first know something we call middleware. Where's this place? Good. We created our store here, right?
Yes.
So while creating the store, you can bring in something we call middleware. A middleware is like an interceptor. Middleware is not usually common at the front end. I'm out of that Danny back end. Like it's a common term in back end. So it's a very, very common term. Middleware is like an interceptor. So while something is going on its own, middleware a request is going on its own. Whatever definition I give you now, please keep it very well, because it's still the same definition when you get to back end. So
Okay.
when a request, let's say you are moving from room A to room B. Room A to room B. So on your way from room A to room B, a security the middleware is like a security, like a gatekeeper.
Okay.
It can intercept you. Then the gatekeeper can now check you and do whatever he wants with you. If the gatekeeper likes, if you allow you, the gatekeeper can stop you along the way and do whatever he wants with you. He can tell you to proceed to room B. He can tell you to go back to room A. He can tell you to go to another place entirely. Or imagine there is an event. A middleware is like a bouncer that starts at the gate. So, if the bouncer likes, the bouncer will allow you into the event. If the bouncer likes, it will send you back to where you are coming from. If the bouncer likes, it will hand you over to policemen or police officers.
Yes.
So that's what middleware does. A middleware is like an interceptor that intercepts a request. Then whatever it now wants, whatever it likes, is going to do on that request. Do you get it now?
Yes.
Okay. So we want to bring in something we call middleware. And from our Redux library, we are going to bring in something we call apply middleware. So bring it in. Apply.
Your screen.
Okay. Can you see my screen now? Is it working now?
No.
It's not working?
Yes.
Okay. Apply middleware.
Yes.
We are bringing it in. This apply middleware we now take in is a function that it will take in the list of your middlewares. Remember, we installed redux-thunk, right?
Yes.
Redux-thunk is a middleware. So let's bring it in. We can say import thunk. So import thunk from redux-thunk. Then we are saying that our application should make use of thunk. We should make use of thunk as middleware. You can have many middlewares. You can even have more than one middleware. As time goes on, you will get exposed to some other middleware as you work on in the application. So we are just saying that you want to use this thunk as a middleware. Now, this thunk now have access to intercept your requests. Do you understand?
Yes.
So when you dispatch an action, the middleware now have the rights to intercept it on the way and do whatever it likes with it. Now, let's see what thunk now does for us. By adding this line, apply middleware thunk. Let's see what it does. We can now do something. Let's go back to our action creator now. Good. Thunk now makes it possible for your action creator to return a function instead of returning an object. Normally, action creators are meant to return an object. But with thunk, your action creator now have access to return a function instead of returning an object. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. So, let's see how to go about it. I want to do the same thing we did over there. We can say, okay, we want to call on this dispatch rename. So, I'll go back to my app.js and dispatch this rename.
Yes, screen.
Okay. Can you see my cuts now?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to remove all of this from this place now. All of this. I'll cut it out. Just cut it. Then we just send the ID. We know the ID is whatever the user types here, right?
Yes.
So send the ID to the send it to the action creator. Then remove the exhaust. Since we are no longer making any API call, yeah, sorry, it's fine to remove exhaust from this place. Now, when you call on this, it goes straight to it comes here. Where's my action creator? I think I've opened too many files. Let me close some of them. Those ones that we're no longer using. Okay, these are my actions. So it comes here, of course, put the ID here. So whatever the user sends from this place becomes the value of this ID, right?
Yes.
Now, I now said the thunk makes it possible for your action creator not to return an object, instead to return a function.
Function.
So let's make it return a function now. We now say return, but the function is going to return is a parameterized function. You know this is a function, Abi?
Yeah.
So this is a parameter. This function is supposed to be a parameterized function. And
The screen.
can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a function, and this function is supposed to be a parameterized function. But don't worry, I'm coming back to what the parameter or what the argument here will be. I'm coming back to that. Now we can now make our API call inside this function. Show you.
Yes.
This is a function now. We can now make our API call inside this function. So let's do that together. So I will paste, I will say exhaust, import exhaust from exhaust. Exhaust. So this has auto imported exhaust for us. Then after importing exhaust, now paste that line that we copied from there. Now for you to use await, it must be an asynchronous function. It must be an asynchronous function. So I can say what's going on?
It's not meant to be after. Before.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Async. Good. So we can now do this. Then next, we want to now dispatch it. You know, it is easier to get to the reducer in all of this. Go to the reducer.
Yes, action receiver.
You know, action like fine. So how then do we get it to the reducer? Remember I said this must be a parameterized function.
Yes.
This now takes in what we call dispatch. This. So this function that you are returning can now dispatch again. Normally, when you dispatch here, when you dispatch in your component, it needs to go straight to the reducer. But your action, this place, you are stopping it. It's like you are intercepting it. You are stopping it from going to the reducer, doing whatever you want on it. When you are now done with whatever you want to do, you can now make it go to the reducer. Do you understand?
Yes.
I come again. When you dispatch from your components, normally, naturally, it needs to go to the reducer. But what you are doing is that with our redux-thunk installed, we now have the ability to intercept that request. So this function can now do whatever it wants on it. When it is now done, it can now dispatch it to the reducer. When it dispatches to the reducer now, it now goes straight to the reducer from this place.
Presuming that thunk cannot work on its own without the middleware.
No, thunk itself is actually a middleware. So it needs that apply middleware for it to work. It's a middleware.
It is okay.
It's a middleware. So that's how middleware works generally. They intercept requests. They intercept something in the middle and they do whatever they want to do. So in order to use thunk, you bring in the apply middleware. So when you are now done, you can now bring dispatch this. I'm coming. So instead of now saying return this, you now dispatch from this place. Dispatch. This dispatch is a function, so you trigger it. So you now dispatch here. Then the payload will now be name. This dispatch don't want to be on new. Like whatever you put here. It be actually to one loss reducer from this place.
Okay.
So it will now go to the user and do whatever it needs to do inside the reducer.
Yes.
So let's run it and see if it's working fine. So I will put an ID here. Let's say it's this time around, and I click on change name. Let's see if it's going to change it. Change. Good, it has changed. Let's put 1. Let's see if it will change. Oh, it has changed. So that is how to make API calls in your Redux application. Any question?
No, for now.
So we've come to the end of the class.
So that's the end of state Redux.
Yeah, state management using Redux.
Okay.
Let me stop recording.
Nice.